Hello everyone and welcome back to the WM32Football podcast. This week we are looking at the Premier League and both myself and Connor are going through what we believe is our team of the decade so far. So, Connor.
Let me caveat this first. There is going to be similar players in because there is standout players in this decade and some absolute dross players in this decade.
Yeah.
So let me pull big whiteboard up.
Okay, so me for your team.
We've had to go big Spanish Dave in goal. David De Gea, 5-time goalkeeper and team of the year. For 5 of the last 10 years, half a decade, decent. One season obviously stands out. That season where went to Arsenal, they beat us 3-1. We had about 47 shots, couldn't score. Amazing how we only scored one. XG had that game down as 5-2, ended 3-1. United, absolutely mad. That season, United's expected goals against was 43.
Yeah.
Do you know how many they conceded?
Half of that probably.
28.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. Carl Walker at right back was possibly in the best defensive structure Spurs have ever had. Then went to City and being the best player. It's actually been the most consistent player at fullback in the PFA team of the years. Only been in it 3 times though, so that says a lot. Obviously, gone the 2 Mr. Consistents of the decade. I thought about throwing Koscielny in there, and then I remember what he did in the summer and his injury record. I've gone Big Jan, Mr. Consistent, and Vincent Kompany. Scored goals when you needed him. Like, no matter what, scored that goal against United in the year that they went on to win the title. Scored the goal against Leicester last season. My slight wild card at left back is Big Dave. Azpilicueta. Obviously played at left back under some managers at Chelsea. He's also played right back and centre back. Only 5'10", but wins 60% of his aerial duels. Has to go in my back line somewhere personally. I don't think you can argue this one. My DM is N'Golo Kante. Yes, he's only played 5 seasons, and it's crazy to think he's only played 5 seasons in the Prem. But back-to-back league titles at different clubs and improved those clubs exponentially was phenomenal. One of my midfielders, Yaya, just all-round baller. There was that season where he scored about 30 free kicks, absolutely outrageous. And then my other one, David Silva, joined in 2010, finishing at City in 2020, perfect decade. Everyone puts that question mark over his output.
Yeah.
Like, he's never got massive amounts of goals and assist numbers, but he's always been there and always scored it in the games that they need him, always created in the games they need him, and has always been there. I put Sterling in here, which a few people that I went through my team yesterday with one of our mates, and he questioned Sterling, going, well, he hasn't been playing that long. He's been playing in the league since 2012.
Yeah.
Which I only realised when I started doing this, but was a standout player in that Liverpool front three in his early time. When Suarez left, kept that team going basically on his own, then went to City and has become probably one of the top 3 wingers in the world. Then obviously Eden Hazard got his big money move in the summer. Absolutely outrageous. I remember one game where he turned Francis Coquelin into a human Beyblade. Guy, absolute magic really, wasn't he? And then Aguero up top. I don't think you can have another striker up there really, can you?
Well,
the stuff he's won.
Yeah.
Somehow he's never won a Player of the Year.
He's never been in the Team of the Year.
Yeah.
Either, which for me is the biggest surprise because Sergio Aguero just guarantees you goals.
Yeah.
For me, him and Dzeko used to love playing against Tottenham, so I was glad when City sold Edin Dzeko because, as I say, they just love scoring against Tottenham. Aguero has quietened down against us in recent years, luckily, but I mean he's a thorn in anybody's side, and consistently hitting 20 plus goals a season.
And it's always a different range of goals. He's even scored headers, left foots, right foots, tap-ins, pens. Like that goal against Chelsea last season from outside the area. He can literally score any type of goal. So he's my striker, which I'm guessing you're going to try and argue in your team.
Probably not, actually. Is there anybody, though, that has missed and that was close to being involved?
Everyone's going to question my fullbacks and go, what about Trent? What about Wan-Bissaka? And the reason I didn't put those 2 in and Robertson because they've only done 2 seasons. Same with my centre backs and not putting Van Dijk in. Not done it over a long enough period. Yes, he was good at Southampton, but he had his flaws. And then when he went to Liverpool, made that step up. But they haven't done it for, like Walker has, 3, 4, 5 seasons. And for Walker, started in 2011, walked into that Spurs team, was the best right back in the league that season. Won the Young PFA Player of the Year over Bale, by the way.
Yeah.
Right, was outstanding then. Yes, you can say he's dropped off this season, but from his performance in goal last night,
he's got things covered.
He's got
as
things
he said
covered.
as he said on Twitter. You mentioned Bale. How close was he?
Wasn't even close. Didn't play enough time in the Prem for me. If you look at, because I searched it up when I was doing my team for wingers and centre mids, he only played 3 seasons because he left in 2013.
Yeah.
For 3 years in the Prem, and to walk into a Premier League team over Hazard and Sterling, wouldn't do it for me.
Midfield wise, is there anybody that was potentially close?
See, there was a few. I thought about leaving Yaya out for Eriksen.
Okay, now I have this thing with Christian Eriksen. Now you've mentioned it, his stats do not match his performances on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because his stats will probably be up there with, and that probably are up there with, a De Bruyne, a Silva, and everything like that. However, his performances are unbelievably hot and cold.
Yeah.
And that
was my reason for leaving him out, because he's so hot and cold. There was another reason, like you brought up De Bruyne there. He was going to go in over Yaya. So I had a 4. I had Rooney because of how he had, but the reason he didn't get in was his Everton period, because he was probably United's best player, like at the start of the decade, and when after Moisey came in. Yaya, obviously for the seasons he was there, he was on City's books till basically 2018, which I didn't realise either. KDB and Eriksen. Eriksen too hot and cold. Rooney I've already said, and De Bruyne, went away to Germany, spent a couple of years there, wasn't great at Chelsea. He's come back. Yes, he's been phenomenal, but he's had a lot of injuries, and that's the reason I put Yaya in over him, which some people will question because Yaya had his spells in and out of the team, but no matter when he was in the team, he was probably the best player on that pitch.
Fair play. I don't think there's too many can particularly argue with in that particular team, so very, very good team, and I think that would probably win not only the Premier League, but I think it would go quite far in Europe as
Just
well.
saying, I'm backing that team to go to a Club World Cup after playing Villa the day before and win it.
Fair play.
So, I'll give this over to you, clean it off, write your team down.
Okay.
I'm not worried about your team actually, because you're quite... I've got a feeling you're going to put a few outrageous names in there that should not even walk into most Premier League sides anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to put this out there right here, right now. There's probably 2 that you're going to look at and you're going to go, right, okay, okay. The rest are pretty standard. I would like to think anyway.
Yeah, that's fair play, but like, I can see you going with an outrageous shout for Dele Alli in that midfield, which I will not back at all.
No, that's a bit too.
We're also after this going to pick a manager of the decade, which I don't think we spoke about, but I'm throwing you under the bus now.
Lovely stuff. Cheers, mate.
Not a problem. Because I sprung this idea on you last week, and I'd already done a week's research, and I just went, oh yeah, next week we're doing Premier League team in a decade, and you just went, oh, I'm stumped. It took you what?
This has literally been one of the most hardest things to do, genuinely, and the reason being is because of trying to work out
who's
been in there, for my team, it's more about who has been in the Premier League out of the decade, trying to get the longevity.
That's why sort of like a Bale won't make it into a team or a that. I saw one team have like Van Persie, and I was there like, he had 2 good seasons, realistically.
The only reason you're questioning it is because he left you lot and won the league.
No, it's not.
It definitely is.
It's not, because he had that 2 good seasons, and afterwards he fell off, and before that he was always injured. those 2 good seasons were outstanding, but to put that in over an Aguero is questionable at best.
I don't think you're ready for my team.
I
don't think
they're ready for it. Not gonna lie to you.
Shall we go for it?
Let's go for it.
Okay, my team.
Oh,
my team.
No way.
Starting with David De Gea in goal. You know, been Man United's Player of the Year. However many out of the last sort of, I think it's 4 out of the last 6 seasons or something ridiculous. And has kept Man United in games, and has probably been the reason they finished where they have finished. In certain seasons. So I couldn't really argue with your choice of David De Gea in goal. Right back, again Kyle Walker. Consistently probably been the standout right back in the Premier League over the 10 years that we're looking at, and gave Tottenham some real dynamism down that right hand side, especially when he come into the team under Harry Redknapp. Took it on, especially under Pochettino, and as you mentioned earlier, was part of one of the meanest defences in the league at one point, and whatnot.
Well, that was the thing that I forgot to point out to you. It was like one season you conceded 36 goals in a season that he played right back in that defensive structure, and the next season you conceded 28 as well.
Yeah.
Like, they were a horrible team to play.
Yeah, but I think in that particular season we had, in the season we finished second to Chelsea, we had pretty much everything. We had power, pace, strength. Squad depth was a little bit questionable, but I think we were steamrolling teams 4-0 at home at one point. It was great. You're going, nice, easy turn up, 4-0, job done, get out. Vincent Kompany at centre back, absolute leader in there. It was a stalwart for City. Epitomised their journey in terms of where they wanted to get to, and he was actually brought in by Mark Hughes as a centre mid, believe it or not. So that's probably one of Mark Hughes' best signings he's ever made, by the way. Got converted pretty much into a centre half, and was one of the best that the Premier League's probably ever seen, up there with Rio and Vidic and whatnot. Next to him, Super Jan, again Mr. Consistency. Very, very rarely puts in anything less than a 7 out of 10 performance for Spurs. Pretty reliable as well. I think I can only remember him having sort of one bad game, and that was the derby last season where he had a bit of a shocker. But other than that, I don't think there's too much you can say about Jan Vertonghen. He just seems to he's almost like a fine wine. He gets better with age.
He comes from that sort of like, as I've said to you before, like the class of Vidic, where he doesn't care what he has to put in the way.
Yeah.
He'll put it in the way to stop it going in.
Yeah, and I think again he's been a consistent performer, not only in the Premier League for Spurs, but also in Europe as well, and has been a major part in Tottenham climbing to the heights that we're at the minute. Left back, which is one of my wild cards anyway, is Patrice Evra. I don't think it can go without being mentioned, really. Patrice, he's won everything, and was very, again, a very, very consistent performer in the past decade. All right, started off very, very shakily at Manchester United, and I remember my uncle saying after he just signed that we've got the best left back in the world and the worst, and I said to him, well, who's the best? He went, Gabriel Heinze. He said, who's the worst? He went, Patrice Evra. And then Evra subsequently outstayed Heinze and has went on to captain one of the biggest clubs in the world in Manchester United. So I think that says a lot about him. Yes, he went away to France and then had a short stint at West Ham, but I think that was just Moyes bringing somebody in that he knew, a little bit of cover in that defensive area for West Ham at the time. But I think by and large, his time at Man United over the decade warrants him to be in this team. The other wild card is Michael Carrick.
That's wild.
I mean, you say that, but if you want a midfield player that can dictate play, spot a pass from a deep position, I don't think there's been anybody really, English-wise anyway, but I don't think there's anybody really been better at it than Michael Carrick.
Yeah,
You don't stay at a club like Manchester United for 10 years unless you've got something about you.
Yeah.
And I think he would also give this team a bit of a balance as well. And I think he's underappreciated.
He was a very, very good player.
Because I think now, if we had a Michael Carrick, we'd be buzzing about him. And he would be a dead cert for England, for sure.
You say that, Harry Winks is sort of in that mould.
Yeah, but again, Harry Winks, I think, is underappreciated because people don't understand what he does. Harry Winks keeps the ball. It's as simple as that.
He's one of those gets it, gives it, gets it, gives it.
Yeah, he's a
to tackle.
Yeah, he's one that dictates play, and Carrick was one that did that very much so, I think, for Manchester United. And a few Premier Leagues in there as well. Now on the coaching staff at Manchester United, and obviously when Ole was flying, it was great. Everybody was buzzing about it, but I actually think that Carrick has been quite instrumental in United's off the field as well as on it when he played. Next to him is Yaya Toure, an absolute machine at Manchester City. I don't think there's been many Premier League midfielders that have done what Yaya Toure did in terms of breaking lines from deep positions, driving forward with the ball, and also having end product with it, whether it be a pass or a goal or anything like that. He was instrumental in a Mancini side, in a Pellegrini side, and whatnot. So yeah, again, I can't not have Yaya Toure in the side. The three behind them, Raheem Sterling, as you mentioned, been playing in the Premier League for quite a while now. Broke in very, very young at Liverpool. As you mentioned, part of that dynamic front three with Suarez and Sturridge. Quite flexible as well and quite adaptable. He could probably play across all the three slots in behind the striker, and has done so far in his career. He's only 24, 25. So yeah, and I mean now under Guardiola is proving to be one of the best in the league, and if not, like you said earlier, probably in the top 5 wingers in the world for sure. So yeah, again, I couldn't really not have Raheem Sterling in there. In the number 10, one of the best players that I've ever seen live is David Silva, and I could not have him in my team. He's absolutely unbelievable. He's the only player I've seen receive the ball in between 4 players, turn, through ball to Aguero, goal. And just say, how does he find these little pockets of space? It's ridiculous. The City fans call him a magician, and I can't argue with it at all, really. He has been a great servant for Manchester City, and it's been a pleasure to watch him play in the few times I've seen Spurs City and whatnot. Wide left. Now this one gave me some serious headaches, believe it or not, because I actually forgot about this guy, and I'm wondering how. But it's Eden Hazard, and this only got put forward to me the other day, and I was there going, how have I forgotten him? Because I loved watching Eden Hazard play. He played in a similar type of position to me at one point as an inverted winger, cutting in real low centre of gravity when he plays. Got a massive backside as well, by the way, which not many people know. I haven't been checking out his backside, but he has got a massive backside, but he uses it to effect to draw so many fouls.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And actually, if I'm working with a wide player, he's the first one I tell him to go and watch. And it's Eden Hazard, because of the way he manipulates the ball, his close control, like I said, his low centre of gravity, and the way he uses his body to draw fouls. It's crazy. Even in the game that Eric Dyer beat up the Chelsea team, he was still drawing fouls using different parts of his body, and how I forgot about him, I don't know, to be honest. That's very, very poor for me, and I can only apologise to those out there. Up top is Sergio Aguero. As I mentioned with your side, very, very consistent. Top one, he's always in contention for the Golden Boot.
Yeah.
And that says everything. 20 plus goals a season. Come in under Mancini, and I remember his debut against Swansea's hit an absolute rasper from about 35 yards, and you're just going, who is this guy? Like, what's it, and
What's
then
this all about?
yeah, literally, and then seen him a few times since, and his movement is unbelievable now under Guardiola, but even before then, under Mancini, under Pellegrini, it was he's always a danger man. You're always glad if he's not playing. But then City had, especially under Mancini, they had an embarrassment of riches where they would bring on an Edin Dzeko or a Carlos Tevez or someone like that. So it wasn't as if you're getting a rest, because you've got, like I say, Dzeko, who's very clever. Tevez is just a little animal, really, in and around the box, and I'd hate to play against him. But I think for Aguero, Manchester City's record top goal scorer, he's only been here, just over 10 years. I think that says everything, really. So yeah, he couldn't not be in my team.
See, I was surprised you didn't go for your man Harry Kane, but the reason I didn't go for him was, one, there's Aguero, and two, not done it for long enough.
Well, for me, in this particular time frame, Harry Kane has probably done it for the last... Well, he's done it for, say, 6. He's done it under Pochettino's times. This is Poch's 6th season now at Spurs. But Aguero was the first name that came into my head, and I didn't have
I was the same.
any questions about that. But yeah, obviously, Harry Kane, probably one of the best number 9s in the world. But then so is this guy. And Aguero's done it for a couple more years than Harry Kane. But I think Kane, if I was to probably do it again, Kane would maybe in my thoughts, but the first striker that came into my head was Sergio Aguero, to be honest.
Yeah, I get you. So, your manager of the decade, have you got any inkling on...
It's not Arsene Wenger.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, manager of the decade is probably going to have to be Mourinho.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason being is because of the fact that when he came back to Chelsea, he won something in his first season, then won the league, which is typical sort of Mourinho thing. Anyway, obviously I know he's had spells out of the game and whatnot, and especially in England, but coming back to Manchester United in a time where they were desperate to win big titles, so to speak, he goes in, wins the League Cup, he wins the Europa League, he finishes second with that group of players that he had, which wasn't his group of players at all. Openly says that's his biggest achievement, in football, and we all laughed at the time, but now looking at it, you go in, how did he actually finish second with that group of players? And yeah, for me, he's a serial winner. He will get the best out of every single one of these players as well. So, I couldn't put anything past Mourinho.
Caveat you with that, the good times under Mourinho, and as an Arsenal fan, I really don't want this to happen. The good times under Mourinho are phenomenal.
Yeah.
The bad times are absolutely Kieran Dyer. Like, players will get outed. You saw him do it with Hazard, Pogba, Diego Costa. Like, he's done it with those players before. So my manager of the decade is, he hasn't won any Prem trophy yet, and I hope he doesn't win it this season. But the transition he's taken his side from to what they are now is Jurgen Klopp.
Okay.
I thought about Poch because of the transition from a very, very mediocre team to a top 4 consistent side and challengers in Europe. They came under it. The thing that changes it to go to Klopp, not a single player in that squad has a bad word to say about him.
Yeah. Again, can't really argue with Klopp. I just think with Mourinho, he's done it everywhere he's been, Premier League or not, serial winner, and I think he can handle big egos.
Yeah.
'Cause I think there's a few in there.
Just
I also
a
think
few.
there's a few humble ones in there. That might I add, but I think there's a few big egos there, and I think he can handle them. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying Klopp can't do it. I just think Mourinho's just got that added extra that he's done it in a few different countries, and he also has a level of realism
Yeah.
in terms of. I mean, Klopp. I'm not saying again Klopp doesn't, but I think with Mourinho, you know almost what you're going to get. Yeah, it might just be a 2.5, 3 year cycle, but you are guaranteed trophies and everything like that. So, and ultimately, yeah, it's nice when you have a good style of play and you take a club from where you started to potentially, like, for example, where they are now, like with Liverpool, like you said. But ultimately, you're in the game to win trophies, and I just think with Mourinho, you've got that. With my team though, I was toying with putting Alexis Sanchez in there. I think, you know, if anybody saw him at Arsenal, he was devastating.
Yep.
Absolutely dynamite. So he come into play. Fabregas was one.
was close, but I left him out due to the period that he went to Barca, then came back, and then it was only 1 or 2 great seasons at Chelsea.
Yeah.
And the rest was sort of like he was in and out quite a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why he didn't get in my side.
Yeah. Again, Bale was close, but I don't think we saw enough of world-class Gareth Bale in the Premier League. So that's why he didn't make it. But again, very, very close. Modric the same. I think my greatest of all time, Moussa Dembele, was close as well.
He would have got in. To be fair, I would have picked him over Carrick.
I would have, but I thought I needed a bit of a balance to the team. And I mean, I love Moussa Dembele as much as the next person. And we miss him now at Spurs. It's making me well up a little bit. But yeah, I just went with Carrick because ultimately he's won more than Moose. But yeah, Dembele was certainly close to getting in there because I've seen him manhandle a midfield 3 on his own. I've seen him glide past this man and leave him for dead and whatnot. So yeah, but I think the other positions, they sort of pick themselves really. So
Fair play.
Right, guys, thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know who has the better team. So if you are Team Connor, put the hashtag Team Connor. If you are Team Wes, put the hashtag Team Wes as well. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.